And I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. Every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Cutbacks. This passage of scripture, Jesus was explaining why God will prune you. And this passage of scripture, he used a metaphor, the parable of a vine dresser or a person who works in a vineyard or a farmer. And I know for a fact I like to do agriculture. I do planting. I plant plants. I love it. I think that's the most peaceful thing I can do than doing planting a plant. But this one of the things I love to do, I feel peace. But when I plant, and then, like spring is about to spring, and you see the old dead branches and the old dead bushes, you got to pull them out. You got to cut them back in order for the new growth to come in. And God sees us the same way. God will cut out things in our life that is not of him. People and things that will stop our growth. Now, God will cut you if you're doing good. God will cut you if you're doing bad. But you're going to get certain things got to be cut out of your life to grow. And Jesus was saying, my Father does the pruning. He will come in. He said, but because you connected to me, so you can't do nothing without God. I know people say I'm rich without, but you can't have joy without God. You can have things without God, but you can't have peace without God. Just people think money brings peace. Money can bring problems. The more money you have, the more problems you have. And people don't understand success when everything gets big with it. Good and bad gets big with anything you have. If you have an apartment, you don't have to worry about shoveling out the snow. You got a house, you got to cut the grass. You got a bigger space, but you got bigger responsibilities. It's a bigger price. But with God, you can have more joy. And God will give you having the responsibility. He said, because my burdens are lighter than the world. So he'll cut you so he can grow you. And God will prune you. And God will take cuts on you and cut back things out of your life. If you got people that's negative, he'll cut them out. If you got things you do, he'll cut it out. And the sad thing, God will use trouble and test as his cutting tool, as his pruning tool. He'll use a layoff. I got laid off so I can really do the ministry. But he had to cut a job out. He might have had to he cut out my relationship because I wasn't growing in that relationship. Or he had to cut out some friends, some influences in my life because he had to prune me so he can grow me. And sometimes God has to cut you to grow you. And it's a sad thing that we think, oh, God, you're doing something wrong. God may be doing things because he loves us. Every cut ain't bad. He cut us to help us. And so we got to learn because he want to bring forth more fruit. Sometimes some people can stop your growth. Some things we do stop your growth. And everything ain't evil. Because God could cut some things out that biblically is okay. The job you may have, God says if a man wants to eat, he got to work. So why would God cut your job out? But what if that job is stressing you out? What if that job making you sick? What if that job stop you from praying? What if that job make you work on Sundays that you can't get to him? God will cut that job back, or cut it out so you can get to him. So he will prune your job. If a friend is you out or drawing you to do something wrong, or enticing you and tempting you to do things that's not of God, and you're trying to keep the friend, but you compromising your faith to keep this friend, God will cause that friend to reject you, or to hurt you, to cut you. If that person is going to stop you from getting into God's purpose, and you are engaged or where you get married, and God knows that person, if I let this person hook up with that person, they will not be the minister, the worship leader, the this, the that. He started a church. Whatever he called you to do, if you hook up with this fellow or this man or this woman, it will stop you from your purpose and your destiny. He will cut them out of your life. He'll do a cutback. And sometimes God will not just cut back, he might cut out. So you can grow. Because you're supposed to, he say in Genesis 1 and 27, he say, be fruitful and multiply. In order for a plant to grow, right now it's spring, and I see, if you go out there and look, you see some brown and some green. So sooner or later, I have to go out there and cut out the brown, the dead things, because the dead things are going to stop the new growth. And God wants us to have new growth in our life. So God has to prune us. He said the Father will come in, and in order for you to get the vine to grow, and people say, well, why God cut? God do two reasons, main reason God will prune you or cut you. First one, to stop death. To stop death. He'll make sure he'll cut you to stop death in your life. Because if you don't cut one thing, death draws death. In the Roman times, what they used to do, people who committed crimes, or somebody said that you murdered this guy, or what in Romans torture, what they do, they will strap the dead body that you was accused of killing, or the person you accused of killing, to you, and will tie him to you. And while that body decays, it causes you to die. That was a form of torture. And that was, you smell the rot, and then sooner or later, that decay of that person will kill you. If you didn't get that person off. Dead things draw dead things. And dead will kill dead. And sometimes life don't make alive. But dead will always produce death if it's near it. Life don't always produce life. If I can stand here and I can't have a baby. I need a woman for that. And a woman still need a man to have a child. But if I told you to hold a dead corpse next to you, guess what? That corpse got gangrene. What's that? Gangrene get on my arm. I will lose an arm. If I hold it long enough, they will have to cut my arm off. If I keep it, it'll get to my vital organs. Then we both be sitting there dead. And when you're around dead folk with dead thinking, you become dead too. Bible says, make no friends with an angry man, because you will learn his ways. Get around depressed people. Be around the people who are depressed a lot. You'll get depressed. That's why he'll cut things out of your life so you don't die. If I don't prune that tree or those bushes or those plants this spring, if I left the old branches from last year stay on this year, problematically that tree is going to die. That plant is going to die. So God will cut you to stop death. Another reason why God will cut you or prune you, to start more growth. Sometimes, I use this analogy. When God cut out, it's to stop the death. When God cut back, it's to start more growth. Sometimes God ain't gonna cut everything out of your life. He might just tell you to cut it back. Some things you can't eat all the time. Cut it back. You ain't gotta cut it out, but cut it back. People you ain't gotta cut out. You can still have that friend, but you ain't gotta call them or let them talk to you every day. Amen. You ain't gotta let them get on your nerves every day. Just cut it back. They stress you out. Cut it back. You ain't got to cut them out. They can be your friend. Y'all can still talk. And don't let them dump on you. Don't let them put their weight on you. I could be happy, but since some people can bring on their life in your life and act like it's important to you. I have people call me all the time. Terry, guess what's going on in my job? I'm not getting paid for them. I don't care. And they will talk as if I work there. But I am concerned because you're concerned. Now, I'm going to talk to you about it because you're my friend. I love you. And I'm going to give you my advice, but I'm not going to sit there and bite my nails because I ain't getting a check. Now, we were both getting paid. I will call you back about the situation. Because they trying to cut you, maybe they trying to cut me too. What did they say? But if I'm not getting paid, I'm not, okay, I'll listen to you. But it's not my problem. That's why I don't call people about the church. You don't hear me call people about the church. I can't go to folk that's call Josh up or call Sister Kim up. Sister Kim, you know the tithe and record? She pays the tithes. She's not worried about it. She paid her. I gave you my piece. What do you want me to do? I can't do no. I gave you my biblical piece. You gotta work that. And certain things, but God will allow you to know what you have. And he will cut out things that stop you from growing. He'll cut out people that stop you from growing. Family members you can never really cut out because they're always going to be your family. But you can cut them back. Friends you can definitely cut out. But God will prune them. And you don't have to do it. God will do it. He said the Father will cut them out. Oh, how, God? How they cut them out? Folk will just leave you. Folk will just hurt you. Folk will just say certain things. Folk will just walk out of your life because he's cutting them out. And sometimes, let me say something. Stop going back picking up dead things that God left, cut them out. God cut it out and you go get it back. He put them away from you. He put that thing away from you because it was causing you death. Why are you going to take that corpse back into your life? And you know, and let me say this. You know how? You know if God did it? How? Because it took no effort on you and you didn't get blamed for it. What do you mean? When people walk away and they can't blame you for the walk away, it wasn't on you. God did it. Now, if you ran back to re-hook up with them And it ain't blame you for everything, that and the past. You did that. And when folk walk, or when things walk, or when things lost, let it go. Because it wasn't yours anyway. God doing the cutting. And people say, well, how I know God cutting and God going, well, it cut me out or cut something out. How do I know that? And see, first of all, God will evaluate. He gonna look at, like I walked out there, this first thing in this morning, I pulled up, because before, I didn't notice the brown, but I noticed the green. When I saw green and brown, the colors are distinct. I saw new growth, and I'm like, oh, it's growing already? Plants starting to grow already? Oh, I got to do some cutbacks. They're going to cut back every year. A job usually cut back, and they'll do evaluation of finances or products. Do we need this, or do we don't need that? And they'll cut back some things that they don't need. And God will cut things out of your life that you really don't need. So you can grow. And if you know the cutback is coming, you'll know these signs will come in. And let me tell you when a cutback is on its way. I can tell you when a cutback is coming. These things happen. When you know, when you're about to get cut back, there's signs. One, if you're not being creative, if you're not making something new, you're not being inventive, something's stopping your creative ability. Something is hindering you. Let me say this. You can't be stressed and worried and be creative at the same time. Something got to give.